Welcome to Coaching with Chris. Happy Tuesday. Happy St. Patty's Day. You're probably asking, where's my green? I tried it on. It was too small for me. I tried to figure out a way to wear it. I couldn't wear it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with the standard color, which is blue. So I got blue on today. But I'm pretty excited about my next guest, watching what he's done for our broker community, watching what he has done and his big, huge involvement with U Mortgage has just been so exciting to watch each year, his involvement, and also new changes with inside U Mortgage. I think we all want to know about. So I'm excited to bring my next guest. Jimmy, are you here?
I'm here. It's great to be here, guys. Happy to be here. I am also not wearing green. I got blue on too. I guess I got out of that whole green thing, 40 years ago, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, 40 years ago was a big deal. Plus, I had to wear it to the bar.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't 40 years ago at the bar. That was 30 years. But yes.
Okay. You're right. You're right. So it's exciting to have you today. I know you went through some changes, cool things. I want to dive into that. Also,
Sure.
I want to talk about support. And you're a big proponent of support for LOs and building a support for LOs. And so I want to get those two things. So please stay all the way at the end, because that's when Jimmy's going to get us the good stuff. But it's like, let's get to know Jimmy a little bit. Jimmy's story. You're not a spring chicken. You've been in mortgage for a while. When did you get started in this crazy world of mortgage and like get us up to date to where you are today?
Well, so I'll give you a background for those of you that are old school in this business. I was in the car business for a long time. I actually went to work for AmeriQuest. I was in the middle of a divorce in January of 2005. AmeriQuest, everyone knows them because they were crooks. And did it for like 5 months. I came from the car business and I thought to myself, this is the shadiest industry I've ever seen. Like call appraisers to get value and shit like that, Chris, right? And so I got out of it, went back to the car business, and then I got back in. It'll be 10 years into summer. I got licensed again. Best thing I ever did. Changed my life. I just gotten married. Been with my wife for a little over a year before that. Just gotten married, and I'm like, well, what do I have to lose, right? I'm not getting any younger. At the time I was 42, almost 43, okay. And it's been a wild ride, but it's given me everything I have in life, and I can't say enough about this business.
So you got back in, you left just because of bad experience, really.
Well, I just, the car business is what I knew. And I worked for a shitty leader that was supposed to pay me and screwed me. And I just, I was like, man, if I'd had the right person guiding and leading me, I don't think I ever would have left. But I also don't believe I'd be where I'm at today. I don't think I would have been with my wife today. So life has a path for you. And it wasn't my path in 2005, but it was definitely my path in 2016.
So got back into, what a great year, by the way, 2016 to get back in.
Oh, yeah.
You get in. How did you land at U Mortgage?
So I got in the industry at 16. I was working for a small correspondent lender. I was actually, because I have an insurance license, so I was actually doing property and casualty quotes, like home and auto for, my buddies that were in the mortgage industry. And I joined up a social group. I was part of Ryan Stuman's hardcore coaching stuff. You remember Stuman, right?
Yep.
And I reached out to a handful of guys in the industry across the country, and I'm like thinking about getting in mortgages. And Johnny Fowler, if you know Johnny's like, hey, he's like, the average loan officer in America is 52 years old. He's like, what are you waiting for, right? Not that big of a deal. So I got in 2016, worked at a small correspondent lender. Originally I was doing lead gen, Facebook leads, back when you could get 50-cent leads, things like that. And early 2018, I left that place and went to another retail entity. And I'm like, man, this place sucks. So I reached out to a guy that had done my mortgages for me when I bought my first few houses and said, what do you think? He's like, you need to come talk to Mike Kingdon, Utah Mortgage. Great guy. I can't say enough good things about him. He gave me my shot in wholesale. And so as I'm digging around the internet, I come across Brawl. And I'm like, I like this, resonates with me. I like this, right? What is this wholesalers? This stuff is, right? I come across Brawl and Anthony. And so Anthony comes into town later that year in 18. And I'm like, this guy clearly is doing something. I need to be part of it. So I was one of like 10 people that showed up to lunch with him. And we created a relationship. And then 2020, huge year for me. 2021, my best year ever. And I'm in June, July of that year, and I'm drowning, Chris. Like, I don't have enough support. I don't have enough team around me. And, I went on the webinar. I wanted to see what U Mortgage is all about, right? Because it was in our infancy 5 years ago. And he sends me a message, and it wasn't like, hey, you need to come work here. He's like, what are your pain points in life right now? What are you going through that made you reach out to us? Like, asking honest, real questions. I literally, I was at the Vetted VA event, right? And I was having a conversation with him. And he's like, what's your pain points? And I went through it, and it was more about, how can we help you solve your pain than how can I make money off of you? And literally, so August of 21, I went out to U Mortgage and joined 2-3 months later. And so we were at the time, obviously there are a few people before us, but we were the largest branch to join at that point. And I've been here ever since. And it's been an amazing experience for me. Obviously the last 3 years have been hard in mortgage. And there's been a lot of ups and downs for a lot of people, but I wouldn't trade any of it. It's made me a much better leader. I have a lot more compassion. I'm still rough around the edges, but I've softened a little bit.
You're a pineapple, Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're prickly on the outside, but you're super sweet on the inside.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, you've met my wife, so right? My wife is as great as they get, and keeps me balanced. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Changes in U Mortgage. You've built a great branch in Salt Lake.
Yep.
You got a great set of support, a great set of loan officers.
Yep.
Like you've really done some great stuff in Salt Lake. Are you just in Salt Lake? Is just your branch in Salt Lake?
So I have at times I've had people in Texas. I've got a handful of folks in California. I've got a handful of folks in Michigan. We had an original Michigan branch that kind of disbanded, so I picked up some of those guys. I've got a few in some of the southern states. The majority of my people are here, but we've been all over. I personally lend in 5 or 6 states. The guys that work for me and with me, my partners, and obviously we have about 40 of the licenses. And of course, U Mortgage is in 47. So, but the majority of my people are here. This is an amazing market I live in. I will tell people this. It's one of the easiest places to originate. It's not that doing loans is easy, but we have great loan amounts. Our title companies are as good as they get. There's no bullshit like you go to Texas and they tell you have to have documents on Wednesday for a Monday closing. We don't have any of that crap. People here actually
will let you know.
Exactly. Yeah. But, so I'm fortunate to be very blessed. I have huge loan amounts, 450 to 500 on average. It's been amazing. But we try to expand. Because I do such a lot of VA lending. I do a lot of Oklahoma and Texas and Wyoming and Idaho and Nevada too, just because I have a lot of transitory people. Cause I've done a lot of loans for like F-35 pilots and they move, back and forth Florida and they go to the Dakotas and then obviously all over the place. So.
Yeah. What do you think were 2 to 3 lessons that you've really learned through this huge transition the last couple of years? Let's just go last 12 months.
Okay.
Because I feel like you have grown the most watching you from the sideline. You have grown the most in the last 12 months.
You know what I think it is I've realized that even though I have very strong opinions, number one, not everyone needs to hear my strong opinions. And that's not that I'm muting myself by any stretch of the imagination, but it doesn't accomplish anything. That alienates more people than it helps. So what I've tried to be is a better leader. Like my whole goal, Chris, and kind of what your goal with what you're doing here and what you do for us in this channel is I want to educate people. I said, look, these are the things I've done and this is what works. I tell people all the time, and you would attest to this same way. I could literally lay my entire life in front of you and it's not going to work for you because you're not going to do the work. Right. But I've come to the conclusion and I used to be, I'm always like, this generation's soft and this and that. I've started to have a little more empathy for people because we grew up in a time where there wasn't constant bullshit in your face. And that's all today is just media and BS and stuff. And so I've got a lot more empathy. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm hard to work for. And I don't think I'm hard to work for. I just have very high expectations. But I also believe that if I'm not doing the work, I can't expect you to do the work. Right. Which is why I still originate at a high level, which is why I'm doing the theme days, why I'm making the phone calls and doing the things and that's what the last year has really transformed my business in that sense. It's become easier because I'm actually doing the things I need to do every single day. And sometimes I don't want to do it. I'm not going to lie. There's days I don't want to make another phone call. But guess
Me
what?
too.
I was like, yeah, but ultimately in this business, I cannot teach and coach people to be better if I'm not teaching and coaching myself to be better. And then obviously along with all that, I really focused on my health, and and if anyone's followed us, they're seeing the transformations of guys like Tyler Hodgson and Anthony and the weight loss. I mean, I was the lowest I've weighed in almost 30 years this morning at 201 pounds. And yeah. So, and at one point I was almost 260. And if you guys have seen me in my old pictures or when I see people at Fuse this year and stuff, they'll be like, what happened? I was like, I decided that I'm 52 years old and I don't have time. I got an amazing wife and kids. I got to be around. I got to figure this shit out. So,
yeah. You forgot one important ingredient.
Oh yeah.
Getting to know Jimmy is that you give a shit.
Yeah.
You care for people. And because you care for them, you expect, but it's really because you care. And I feel like, don't forget that ingredient because that is an amazing quality that
it's funny. I'm very passionate about it. I mean, that's the thing is don't ever question my integrity because I know that I've got integrity. I care about people. Chris, I'll tell you how I got into doing this with U Mortgage as well. My business partner, guys like my brother, he's a realtor and we owned a ton of properties together. He told me, he's like, you need to help more people. And this is in the middle of 21. I did 100 million in 21, right? 251 units. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to do 251 units. I'm like, I'm going to crush this year. He's like, that's not what I mean. He's like, you need to help more people become you. And so that's where my passion lies. I'm by all measures doing very well for myself. I have zero issues. I have a great life. I have a nice house, drive the car I want. I love my life. But there's no greater satisfaction than watching someone else do, 2, 3, 4 million in a month and have massive months and make, $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 in a year. That's life-changing money. I mean, $250,000 life-changing money, right? Compared to where a lot of people come from production lines and, even the car business. We thought we were ballers making 100 grand a year in the car business. If I made 100 grand in this job, I'd quit. You know what I mean?
That's right. Let's talk about biz for a sec. So you switched. You're going to a broker model. And it doesn't mean that you're not a correspondent lender, but you're choosing more of a broker model. Like walk me through that and a little bit of the thought process and the benefits.
Well, part of the reason why we did it is we've seen some real gaps in the industry. And we have some great, I don't know if I call them competitors because I respect all the guys at the different big broker shops. I think we did something that made a lot of sense for where we were at. But ultimately, we believe operationally that we are better than everybody else. We believe it. Whether that's true or not, we believe it, right? And we believe we've built technology and stuff that is as good as it gets. And so we wanted to roll something out to be able to help more people. And so not along with the flat fee model that's very similar to some of our competitors. And again, nothing against any of them because I respect all the guys I know that work at all those places. Great friends of mine are at Edge and Nexa and Empire and places like that, right?
Sure.
But we felt like we had a value proposition that we've been building towards for 4 or 5 years that really, truly could change the industry. And then frankly, I'll tell you what the real kicker is on the broker side. We put a cap on. We took a look at the real estate market and realized, obviously these big brokers have something going for them. So we're going to cap you. Once you've done 50 loans, you're not paying us the margin anymore. So we want your business. We want you to come here because we have a value prop that we believe is better than anybody else's. But we're also going to say, you know what, keep more of your money. Before I came here, I was in a flatter fee model and I paid them a flat fee on 250 loans. I can't imagine have an extra flat fee at 200 loans back. Do another 200,000 in my pocket or whatever the number was, right? And I had a huge year to begin with, but it's a huge amount of money. So we want to take away some of the stressors that allow you to essentially take that money and reinvest in yourself to do more business. Now, mind you, some people are going to take the extra money and be happy with where they're at, and there's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, like you talk about and a lot of the leaders in wholesale talk about, is we want to provide more to you to be able to build your business and grow it. Because, this job is simple, but it's not easy, right? It's doing the work every single day, and one extra loan could be a huge difference. But a bigger piece of that one extra loan, which is what we're trying to provide, is a massive amount of money, and and especially in my market. I mean, if you do the math, you put a pencil to the math at $450,000 loan amounts, it's pretty good. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you introduced flat fee. I think,
yep.
I mean, I could be totally wrong,
Yeah.
but you got to be one of the first with a
yeah. We've never seen it, and that's why we talked about it. We sat in a room, and with our senior leadership team running operations and stuff, and we said, you know what? I was like, we believe we have a great value prop, but so do a lot of the other guys. Ultimately, we want to differentiate ourselves, and we want to have an operation where people that are bigger producers, essentially, not that we don't want everybody, but at a certain point, you get fatigue, and frankly, if at 50 loans, you cap out and you don't have to do call reports and you don't have to do the day-to-day management. You don't have to get all the licensing stuff done, which is the worst part of being a broker owner, right? If you can avoid all those things and still cap out and still make all the money you're making, it really becomes a no-brainer. And that's why we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the second no-brainer I want to dive into, which is, me, it's everything that I'm about, which is tempo.
Yeah.
You haven't, probably, you're the only one I know that uses it on a daily basis, and you've built something unique to your company, which is an added value for your LOs.
Sure.
Walk us through tempo, and then maybe walk us through, like, you come up with the idea of actually doing it.
Yeah.
So the idea of it, and then how do you get people to do it?
It's fun. Well, so obviously tempo is Anthony's idea. Coming from when he ran Garden State and realizing everything. We started coaching around the theme days. We started building the theme days. That's nothing new. We're not reinventing the wheel, right? Like they always say, good artists create, great artists steal.
Yeah, that's
I was teaching my daughter that lesson last night about Americans invented cars, but Japanese perfected them, right? Here we are.
Yeah. Or maybe Germans.
Yeah, or Germans. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it depends on the car, but Porsche definitely. So, we got it in and we put it in place, and it's very cool because obviously it's built around the daily activities, the prospecting calls. We have journeys in our local open house journey, the new client journey. We have a relationship tracker where it'll show you when the last time you touched your partner was, and it degrades over time, so you need to stay in front of them all the time. We have email journeys throughout there, that go out, follow up for birthdays and anniversaries, and it's amazing. And frankly, what we've tried to do, and we're not done by any means, right? We still got a lot of room to grow, but 1 out of 5 posts outside of rates in the last 2 years or credit reports has been, what's the best CRM? And I know we all joke about it and brokers are best, but ultimately that's what it is. And so what we've tried to build is not only something that's like a CRM, but gives you every single day. And so your actual day is in there. You can actually map out your day in tempo. So the themes, status update dates, thank you cards, social media. We do a little more than obviously what's taught in the core per se, and it's in front of you. And then we've had contests. Last year we had the March Madness contest. And as we start rolling it and as more people adopt it, they realize, holy shit, I'm doing the work, and now I have visibility of doing the work. It's good. So I tell, but I know who you are. And this reality is, I don't believe you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been. If you can't look and see what you've done, how are you going to map out the future? And that's the whole point of what we're doing. And again, this is one of those things that, to have, someone like Sean Grapevine, who's the architect behind a lot of what we're doing with Anthony's vision, talk about this is amazing. But that's what we've tried to build, and no one else has it. People want it. No one else has it. And so that's our proprietary technology that we believe that alone is a differentiator, because you can do loans and be great at loans, but this is going to give you every single day what you need to do to continue to do what you're doing. And again, being part of the corner, coaching in the corner stuff, spreadsheets, right? It takes away all the spreadsheets. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because frankly, old school works. There's a reason why people do it.
Yes, right.
But we're attempting to do it, whether desktop or your phone, to make sure that we're in front of our stuff all the time. And then we gamify it. Like you hit certain days, you hit 100 points, you get the fire and things go crazy. And, and
I
hit
like that.
streaks, and we talk about it. And you'll see in our day-to-day stuff that is the people that have been most successful and done the most tracking and done it the most are having massive success. They're 25, 50, 75% in their business simply by doing the work every day, because now they're accountable to the work. We can hold people accountable all we want, Chris, but ultimately it's up to them to do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is your percentage of LOs using Tempo today?
Not enough.
Okay.
But I will say we're probably 40 to 50%. Getting there. I know it's getting a lot better. And part of it's because the architecture behind it and our tech guys are wizards, and they're building it to be more useful, like putting notes in and the My Day theme and literally having everything in the palm of your hand. You can, and little by little, we had a sales leadership meeting 2 weeks ago. We talked about ways to make it even better. Like, how to add people to journeys, how to remove certain customers from that, because as we put all of our old customers in and have the different journeys in there, it's going to be amazing. And so essentially with what we're building out with the technology for the flat fee model, everything's going to be in there. You're going to be able to see your commissions on your checks in there. You're going to be able to see everything. So Tempo is going to basically be an OS for everything you have. And so once it goes into Arrive, which we use Arrive, obviously, once it goes into Arrive, it's immediately in Tempo. You got to track it. You got to know where it came from. You got to note who it came from, which partner, how, when, why, did you call them? Did you talk to them? That way you can see it. And then you can always go look them up and say, hey, I saw this guy and this is what happened, right? So that's what we're building. We want to make sure that people can always go and look up what's going on and figure out who they're dealing with and where it came from.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think was the greatest lesson Tempo taught you as a leader or as an LO?
That's a great question, man. I'll tell you, the biggest thing that it's taught me, or rather forced me to do, is I'll tell you what, and it's not forced, not a bad word, but I'm using it in that sentence.
Sure.
I've had huge success. I suck at asking for referrals. Okay. So yeah, really, I do. And so what it's done for me is when I'm doing like the Thursday past client relationship day and stuff, it's always in front of me and it reminds me, hey, ask for this, do this, do this. And so for me, it's really about how important tracking is. Years ago, I coached with Kai McBride, Kai. And Kai's big thing was tracking and following up and making sure you're tracking everything. And so I learned that and I got away from it a little bit to the last couple of years. And so it's really put me back in that mindset, because I can't coach my team. I can't lead my team if I'm not doing what they're doing. So if they came to me and said, Jimmy, how does Tempo work? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. What good is that? What good is that, Chris, to be honest with you? Good. So that's what it's taught me. It's taught me to be more accountable to my own work, so that in turn I can hold people more accountable to their work. So
yeah. I think that you hit it. Like, you can't lead unless you can lead by example, and you're a perfect example of that. Yeah. Let's talk about my favorite EOS, which is evidence of success. Okay. Like, give me a couple stories where you really feel like you've watched an LO grow over the last 12 months that's really tied to, some of the mechanics of your company or leadership that have gotten them to the next level. Because there's LOs listening and they might be stuck. They're an LO that, feels on an island. Sure. And I know that your guys' systems work hard on making sure they don't. And by the way, if anybody doesn't know this, Jimmy's old school. He goes to the office every single day. He doesn't work out of his house. He's in a building right there in the middle of Salt Lake. I've been there. And I love that part too. But give me an EOS.
So I'll got prime example. Someone that I can point to has been with me 4 years.
Okay.
But the light switched about 2 years ago, and every single month, better and better, is Christy Gibb. And you've met Christy. Christy is a great example of someone that's always striving to learn, sometimes to her own default. She knows that. She sees something and wants to change it. But Christy constantly is putting forth the effort, right? She's doing the things in Tempo. She's following the theme days. She's having structured meetings with real estate agents and partners to present her value prop. And
Yeah.
she'll tell you, if you guys follow her on socials, every single day, day number 74, I think today was, or yesterday, about why I love working at U Mortgage. And so
Oh,
she's,
she did 74 days so far.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. If you find it, you'll see it. Right. But she talks about that. And it's, some days, she's a great example because, she's compounded her business, and I've got a bunch of people in my branch. There's people throughout the country, even some of the higher producers, there's people that have come here and gone, and that's the ebb and flow of the business. But I can talk about a handful of those that they had their best production numbers ever coming here because of the systems and support. Now, maybe there were some things that they wanted differently, and that's fine. And that's maybe why they're not here. But historically, it works. I mean, and I'll use myself as an example. And I joke about, at this point, I can probably roll out of bed and do 40 to 50 million a year. And I do work my ass off for that. Right. But that's because of the systems and processes. Everything in place for me makes my life easier. I have a great operational team. So I'm a good evidence of success along with my people, but you can go down the list. Look at the stuff that Tyler Hodgson posts, had his best year ever last year. Ben Bell, best year ever. Guys that are succeeding. And here's the thing is, these are guys that are succeeding without massive MSAs and huge things like that. They're just doing the work every single day. And they're relationship builders, and they're making their phone calls, and they're following the theme days, and they're tracking, and doing the things they need to do. And that's really it. I mean, I would say historically, we have a very good ability to take a 1 to 2 loan a month loan officer and get them to a 5 to 6 loan a month loan officer if they're willing to do the work and follow the systems. I mean, we have a couple daily sales huddles a week. We'll have people like you come on and talk about things like that. I run a meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the afternoon where we talk loan scenarios, right? I take an hour out of my day because I knew it was needed. I was like, I'm not perfect, but we have a couple team members. One's an LO now. His wife is actually a former underwriter, and they come on and we talk about scenarios, and we solve scenarios for people. And it's amazing. And again, that's the kind of support people need, right? And a community, because sometimes you feel like you're in an island. I worked from home all through COVID and after, and not a big deal for me because I can work from home and be successful and productive because I don't have little kids. My youngest is 15 now. But I come to the office every single day, not only because it's better for me and my psyche, but it's better for my people because then they have easier access to me if they need it. And, but I think that's the biggest thing here is we built a community, Chris, and you've been to a lot of our events. You've been to a handful. We built a community here that supports one another, and that's, you look at retail lending, you look at these big companies, you could have 2 branches of the same company 5 miles from each other. They may never talk to each other.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think our biggest evidence of success is the culture, where, the guys in Dallas are doing their Elevate stuff with Nash and Tyler, and they're inviting whoever wants to go. So there's been leaders down there. We take and share what works at the highest level so everyone can emulate it throughout the company. And it may not work for us here that works for them and vice versa, but there's no hidden man behind the curtain. We're going to fully expose what works and what doesn't work. And so when someone asks, hey guys, what's working? This is what works, right? And that's kind of what I've tried to put out, like back to your question, from 10 minutes ago about the last year. I want to show everybody everything. I'll give you all the keys to the kingdom. I am an open book. If you call me, need help with a loan, I don't give a shit if you work here or not, especially a VA loan. If you need help on a VA loan, call me. I was like, I'll do my best. I did 79 VA transactions last year. So while I think expert is a term that gets thrown on way too much, and I still have some lack, I've done 500 VA loans. I've done enough to know better, right? To at least have seen scenarios, at least guide people.
You've seen this stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing is I think you find culturally that's what works. One of the things we do, I get the payoffs from some of the lenders that come through. I immediately reach out and send it to the former LO, even though they're not here. That's who we are. Now, have we made mistakes along the way? Have we been perfect? Certainly not. But my job as a leader is to make sure that, I'm never going to burn a bridge if I can avoid it. Because I love a lot of the people that worked here and are not here anymore. A lot of great friends that are not here anymore. I want everybody to be here, but that doesn't mean they're going to be here. And ultimately, I want to make sure that the LO gets taken care of because that means the client gets taken care of. And that's the most important thing. So
transferring here towards the end here, just transferring, getting into 2026,
Okay.
we're talking about it. We've had this pretty weird market. it feels like it's going our way, but
Some days.
feels some days is not real. Feel is not real some days.
Yeah.
But if what advice would you give to the LOs listening to this call of the 3 things that they must do to win in 2026?
Okay. I mean, really, it's the same 3 things it's been forever. I was fortunate to sit on the stage at Fuse back in 22 or 3. I forget what it was, a top producer panel.
Oh, sure.
And everyone talked about getting back to the basics, right? This job is about the basics, right? So number 1, mind your database. I know this is a big deal for you, Chris. The 5 fingers. The Windsor 5.
Yeah. You listen to that. I'm. You made my day. I feel like I say it.
Well, no, I mean, that's the whole point. Is I pay enough attention because that's what works, right? So number 1, mind your database. If you don't have a database, create one. Go down the list of who sends you business. Map out what's going on in your business. Number 1, you need to understand that. Okay. Number 2, social media. I think social media is very important. Now, these are not in any order per se. Okay. Because the last one's the most important, in my opinion. Social media. You need a social presence. Be on podcasts if you've got some value to offer. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. People are making money. Facebook's paid me 7 figures. No question. Love Facebook. And I'm 52 years old. Kids would call me a boomer. It is what it is, right? but that's my whole point. And then last but not least, do the work. Stay in front of your partners, support your partners. It's not about calling about rates and fees. It's about actually being a partner and caring about people and taking care of them. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, is in front of your partners and in front of your clients always, right? Provide them value. We talked about it today. We have a 15-minute meeting for my branch every morning. I talked about it today. I was like, that's the most important thing. I was like, if you are in front of your partners and your clients and always top of mind, you'll never lack in this business. You'll have plenty of opportunity to make money. Now, if you suck at loans, that's not going to help you, but we can solve the sucking at loans part, right? Generating business is the hardest part of this business. Closing loans is not hard if you have the right team behind you. So again, your clients are most important. I think Thursday is the most important theme day, my opinion. I think your past clients and the relationship with them is the best. I had a lady call me last night. She's like, my son's about ready. She's like, now I warned him. She's like, you better take care of Jimmy. It's because Jimmy's my guy. This is the mom talking to her son, but again, that's what I built. I told the client this morning, I said, look, I'm going to make this deal work for you and give up some of what I could do because I appreciate the fact that 4 or 5 years ago, we did your loan and you thought enough about me to come back. Okay. Yeah. And I'm in front of them with birthday cards and social and things like that. But regardless of that, they still have to pick the phone up because it's easy to get swayed by a call center. And so again, that's, if I tell anybody, I was like, be in front of your people. Your customers are your people and treat them like gold and it will pay you gold. Like Zig Ziglar always talked about, you give enough people what they want, you're going to get everything you want. And that's my philosophy that's why I did give to my people. That's why I work as hard as I do. That's why I get frustrated when I lose a deal because I know the other loan officer is nowhere near as good as I am. People are chasing the shiny object, which frankly, I respect because I probably have done it too. But that means I just need to be better and I need to be more educational and I need to do a better job of explaining why I'm better. And so, that's the biggest thing.
Last question for you, Jimmy. I'll let you go. What do you feel like is the greatest lesson Anthony taught you?
Boy, there's a lot of them. It's funny is, Anthony's story, obviously 8th grade, dropping out of school, all those things. What I think the reality is I'm very loyal to him. He's my partner. In a lot of ways, he's my mentor with leadership and different things, for good or for bad. We both have our flaws, but I think the biggest thing he's taught me is that always looking forward, right? So, I think when you dwell on the past, it becomes your worst enemy. Now, I think you should remember the past, but I don't think you should dwell on it. And so his vision is down the road and he's leading. And he told me just the other day, he's like, look, no disrespect, but stay in your lane. I need you to do this, this, and this. and that's fine, because I can have that frank conversation with him. And that's what I appreciate, because, I have this idea and vision of where I think I need to go with what I'm doing, because I'm running sales and things like that. And he's like, no, he's like, I don't need you to do that right now. He's like, I got that, do this. And so in turn, I tell him all the time, I was like, look, I'm doing everything I can to free this up from you so you can focus on what you're best at, which is, building. Obviously, he's the leader. He built Brawl, he built AIM, obviously U Mortgage. And I think that's the thing, is I really think is the biggest thing I've learned is to focus on your skill sets and magnify it. I don't think I ever thought I would be where I'm at today, Chris. I think the biggest thing is he allowed me the opportunity. And then, and again, I'm a little insane, so I work hard and everything else, but he's giving me raw feedback when I ask for it, and even when I don't ask for it. And I think that's the biggest thing is, obviously you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, and I'm good. I'll learn from it and think to myself, well, maybe I didn't see it that way, but shit, you're probably right. And so I think, but I think with all the changes that we're all dealing with, extreme ownership is a big deal. And we talk about it all the time, and we bounce a lot of things off each other. And so I think we made each other better. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having someone that's, succeeded on a high level to guide you.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. What a cool partnership. I'm super proud of you, Jimmy. What you guys are building, it's awesome to watch. I love the technology. I love the support that you're providing for the LOs. I love your voice. And I know you got the biggest heart. And don't ever anybody get Jimmy wrong. He is a pineapple. He might be a little prickly, but he is sweet and kind and helpful on the inside. And he cares more than anybody. And he will wear that.
It's funny. I'll tell you real quick, so you'll appreciate this. Ruby Hells works for me, and she's like, I wasn't sure about you till I saw you cry. When we had our grand opening, I was emotional about it, and she's like, then I knew. So, and I mean, because I have a lot of passion for it. I do care a lot. Sometimes that comes out the wrong way, but it is important.
Me too.
Yeah. So
I appreciate you, Jimmy. I'm proud of you. What you're doing is amazing. Thanks for being on Coaching with Chris, and let's go have the best year in 2026, buddy.
All right, brother. Thank you for letting me come on.
Yep.